firsthand that being part of a ready-to-learn model is being well-fed so that we're fueling our bodies and our brain power. We have served thousands of meals to remote and hybrid learners since March. And throughout this summer, and also feeding breakfast and lunch during our remote learning required so many volunteers from our community to help rally around our students and deliver meals each and every day. We know that food insecurity is real. Over 11,000 students in Sangamon County have food insecurity, and the meals that we provide at school are only a part of the solution. I'm excited to hear from our partners at the Illinois State Board of Education, IDHS, and Governor Pritzker's office about the ways that they continue to provide support to our students and families. At this time, it is my distinct pleasure as a proud Illinoisan to welcome Governor Pritzker to the microphone to tell us more about the assistance that's coming soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to the superintendent, Jennifer Gill, and of course to Principal Vince Turner for welcoming me here and for hosting us here at Washington Middle School. And also for the patience, creativity, and strength that you've demonstrated in guiding your students through the difficulties of the last year. I'm very honored to be here with the Department of Human Services Secretary Grace Ho, Representative Sue Scherer, a real leader in Springfield on behalf of her constituents, and Central Illinois Food Bank Executive Director Pam Molotouris. The people standing with me today spend their days working to make life better for families and children who depend upon them. Today is a good day as we advance a cause that will make a meaningful difference in the lives of Illinoisans all across our state. At its core, our pandemic response this last year has focused on saving lives and truly protecting our residents, ensuring not only their access to testing and health care, but their ability to keep a roof over their heads and to make sure that their families have enough to eat. We served over 110 million meals to school-aged children and their families. We enhanced benefits for all households dependent upon Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, to the maximum allotment possible, regardless of income, to help families through this incredibly painful year. To avoid spreading the disease, we paused the requirement to get recertified for SNAP to ensure that there would be no interruption of access for anyone dependent upon it. And we made it possible for Illinois SNAP recipients to shop with major grocery store chains online, increasing safety while providing convenient and healthy food options for all of them. Especially for our young children, a meal is more than just a meal. It's a door that can swing open or shut on opportunity. A child whose family is food insecure has tremendous difficulty focusing on school compared to her classmates who don't go to school hungry. A mother who always puts herself second when there's only enough food for her child will never be able to function as her whole self, her best self, the person she has the potential to be. And in a pandemic, a nutritious diet is more than the fuel to get through e-learning. It's also support for a strong immune system. Today, I'm very proud to announce that we're moving another step closer to ending hunger for those in need in Illinois with a new monthly benefits program that will support approximately 1 million children across our state. Starting next month, eligible families across Illinois can be on the lookout for a benefits card in the mail to provide additional federally funded food for their children. The Pandemic Electronic Benefits Program, or Pandemic EBT, is an automatic enrollment program, meaning no complicated application process is required. Our Department of Human Services is working with the Illinois State Board of Education to determine eligibility, and local schools will let individual families know that the assistance is headed their way. Securing this new support for Illinois families from the federal government amounts to more than $750 million, and it means stronger nutritional support for 1 million families and coverage for 200,000 more or new children that had not already been covered. We are one of only 16 states to take this important step for our residents. Ending hunger in Illinois isn't just a hope and a prayer, it's a tangible goal, and it's something that our DHS Secretary Grace Ho and the Illinois Commission to End Hunger are working hard at achieving. The people of Illinois deserve the full foundation of a good life and real economic opportunity for themselves and for their children. That's good public schools, that's affordable early childhood education, that's mental health services, quality health care, family supports, affordable housing, and more. So I want to say thank you to all that made it possible for us to get here today. And with that, I'd like to introduce Secretary Ho, who has made creative and inspired new programs a cornerstone of her agency's pandemic response. Grace?
Good morning. And Governor Pritzker, thank you. You've been a strong champion of this program from day one, and I'm thrilled to join you here today with our community partners here at Washington Middle School to announce that almost 1 million students across the state will benefit from PEBT. PEBT builds on our commitment at the Illinois Department of Human Services to help those in need through so many ways, and as always, the Illinois Department of Human Services will maximize every possible avenue to do that. And to do big things and to reach Illinois school students and their families across the state, we must work in partnership with our sister agencies. And we are here today because of a strong partnership with the Illinois Department of Human Services as well as the Illinois State Board of Education. And this program is also funded through our federal partners, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Services. As the governor shared, we will reach 200,000 more eligible children than we did last year because of our relentless innovation. Last year, Illinois' PEBT program reached about 760,000 children with more than $260 million worth of nutrition benefits to the state of Illinois. And so through PEBT, eligible school children receive temporary emergency nutrition benefits loaded on EBT cards that look like this, that are used to purchase food. Children who would have received free or reduced price meals under the National School Lunch Program if their schools were not closed or operating with reduced hours or attendance for at least 5 consecutive days are eligible. So families do not need to apply for this round of PEBT benefits. They will get 1 PEBT card per eligible child, and these cards can be used to purchase food items at EBT authorized retailers, which include most grocery stores in Illinois. As the governor shared, these cards will be mailed to the address the school has on file for the child beginning on March 8th. And I'm holding this up because I don't want people to throw them away. Please be on the lookout for these cards. For parents who are listening and caregivers, make sure that you pay attention to this important document. As the governor shared, we are only one of 16 states to receive the federal approval for this school year from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We are so pleased and so proud to have moved swiftly to ensure families in Illinois received the support that they need. We can't fight food insecurity alone. We have important partners in communities like food pantries and food banks, and I'm so pleased to introduce our local partner here in this region, Pam Molotouris, the director of the Central Illinois Food Bank. Thank you.
So the thing that I'd really like to emphasize this morning is that this is really about us taking care of our communities. You know, for those of you who have talked to me in the past, you know that we're always talking about our neighbors. and how we care about each other. And the thing that I can tell you is this morning we just did something that's called our Pulse Survey for Feeding America. And there's one question that I watch every time. We're on number 12 now. And the question asks, of the distributions that you have done during the pandemic, how many have resulted in someone not getting food and someone being turned away? The sad news is that in our case, it's 100%. It's 100%, folks. The happy news is that this announcement today brings one more resource to our families that are struggling. You know, we've got parents that are teaching their kids at home. We've got parents that do not know how they're going to get to a distribution because they're teaching their kids at home. And so we are just thrilled with the governor, Illinois Department of Human Services, Illinois State Board of Education, and our legislators for seeing that this is really an important thing for our community. My number one priority is to take care of our neighbors. You know, we have a responsibility to feed people, and we have a responsibility to do that in partnership, so we're all working together. So to the nearly 11,000 kids that are dealing with food insecurity here in Sangamon County, and to their families, and to the 625,000 children in Illinois that are dealing with food insecurity, this is a really good day. So it is my pleasure now to introduce Representative Sue Scherer.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Makes me feel like I'm at home when I hear the school bells ring, having been a teacher. I want to thank the governor for coming to Springfield and making this announcement and seeing the needs that we have in our communities and all of the members that we have here behind us. This shows what great things can happen with teamwork. I wanted to give you a real-life example of a family that I know close to my heart because it's my own daughter. But I went over to her house, and this is what people are going up against right now with COVID. We've got a dog that's barking because they can't get out of the house because of the weather. We've got a baby crying. We've got 2 children, 1st and 2nd grade, trying to do Zoom on the computer. One of the Zooms is down. The 2nd grader's having to help the 1st grader get online right. The father is gone to work, worrying that he's going to get COVID, and the mother, who happens to be my daughter, is in the dining room that's now been converted into an office, and she's trying to work on a Zoom with all this happening. And then she said, "Mom, my kids really badly want to get this one lunch thing at school." And I said, "But it's humanly impossible for you to get to the school to pick the food up." Well, she's not going to be a recipient of one of these cards, thank you, Lord, that she's able to work. But how many people are in this exact same situation and have no way to go to the school to get the food? So to me, that is the absolute highlight and forward thinking of people to figure out, but on Saturday afternoon they can get to the grocery store. So this is such a valuable program, and I really hope that the people can understand how lucky we are to get this money from the federal government. And thanks for being here.
Thanks so much to Representative Scherer, and happy to take questions from members of the media. Yes, sir. John, how are you? Thanks for the question. No, there's no new bureaucracy that you're talking about. The fact is that there are existing programs. We have, as you were talking about, meals delivered to home. That exists already, certainly for seniors. We have kids who, because they may be remote learning, their families aren't able to benefit from the extension of PEBT unless we applied for it, and we did do that. What this really does is gives more nutrition, more options to many families, most families who already are receiving free or reduced lunch, and to 200,000 more kids who otherwise would. We did that. First of all, I certainly have encouraged schools to make sure that they have all options available, especially in-person learning. We want to encourage in-person learning. But, you know, as I talk to the superintendent here and the principal here, they'll tell you that there are families who, because of risks at home, of a child going to school every day and possibly bringing home the disease, or other concerns by parents, that there are some who just want to remain in remote learning. There are others, as is happening here too, who are in hybrid learning. And we want people to feel, as the positivity rate has come down and as more and more people get vaccinated, we want to make sure that people feel as comfortable as possible and that the schools are providing the environment. Remember, social distancing is still a requirement. So we need to make sure that every school building has a capacity limit that is talked about and worked on by the school board to determine how many kids can actually be in at any given time. Yes, sir.
On the topic of vaccines, the state will be in place still?
Yes, of course, I'm worried that there are some people who will, but you know, I really believe in the integrity of the people of our state. I think that first, most people will go to a healthcare provider that they already know, an FQHC or a clinic that they already are engaged with. They will know what their comorbidities are, so that's helpful. I do think that people will show up and be able to tell what their comorbidities are in an interview with with either a nurse or somebody working with the local health department that will help determine whether somebody is in fact eligible. But the fact is that what I'm most concerned about is that we make sure and get as many people vaccinated as possible. We've created, and we are in the process of creating, I should say, with the local public health departments, certain days that are specific to just people over 65 and over, for example. So we want to make sure that we push them a little bit ahead here, as we're also trying to vaccinate the others who are eligible in 1A, 1B, and 1B Part 2.
Governor, you said that
Yes, Mark.
Police reform bill you signed yesterday would help dismantle systemic racism,
Yeah.
but also hit back at Republicans who you said want to oppose that effort. Are you saying that Republicans are defending systemic racism?
I think change is hard for many of them, and many of them may not live in communities where they really understand what that means. So I don't put any ill will on that. I just think that we need change in the state. That's one of the important reasons why we had to work on this bill. And I think a good job was done. I think there are some changes that will probably be part of a trailer bill. Whenever you do anything big like this, and you've seen this before too, there's always, you know, a fix here or there that needs to be made, and I think that'll happen over the spring session.
There have been 18 shootings in Chicago last weekend. There were like 3 different shooting incidents in the past 7 days here in the Springfield area. How does that bill solve those problems or address those problems?
There are many challenges that we have in both fighting crime and in criminal justice reform. They aren't all solved by one bill. There's a lot that needs to be done. As you know, I believe very strongly in providing jobs for, you know, teens during the summer when there's typically an increase in violence. That's one way to reduce violence. Another is to make sure that our communities are receiving the kind of uplifting support capital to build the institutions that they deserve to have. Many communities have been left out and left behind from that. And then I guess I would broadly say that we have to do more to fight crime directly with kids, young adults, and maybe by working directly with them in programs that reach them where they live, like in their neighborhoods, on their blocks. Those are things that we've funded over the last several years in my budgets that are important for reducing crime. You're late for class. Sorry.
there are programs that address that in this bill too, that cost money. You've got a lot of flat funded, law enforcement training standards for flat funded this year in your budget proposal. You got tough times all over. Where's that money come from?
So we did include funding for several of the programs that are in the criminal justice reform bill. We did. For those that need more funding in years hence, we're going to have to work on that together as well. And obviously, we're in the midst of a pandemic. We have a pandemic budget that we're all dealing with. That's not the budget that I think anybody really wanted, but it's the best that we can do in a very difficult time. Yeah.
Have been giving student lunches out to students who are doing hybrid or back and forth at home learning. Is that going to continue? And do you think adding a delivery service, like Representative mentioned, would be helpful for families?
Well, if you don't mind, because I haven't brought the expert up to answer this question for anybody, if I may, Grace. Grace is really an expert on every level of support that we're providing for children and their families.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so Illinois schools have been supplying lunches to families who need it at home for learning. Will that continue, and will delivery service possibly be an option for families in the future that are residents?
So I think the first question is dependent on the school district. I think there are different school districts with different type of resources in order to make food supports available to their in-home learning students. So I would imagine that if there is a need that may continue, but I think that would be contingent upon school districts' own decisions. And the second part of it is, I think we announced several months ago that SNAP is actually available for delivery through some of the retailers. I believe Aldi and Walmart, and we continue to work with different retailers in Illinois to make online purchases with delivery available to families across the state. But I agree that that's something that we're going to continue to work on and make more available.
Can you just give some examples for people at home how they can use this card? Are there any qualifications of the kinds of food they can purchase with it? What are some examples of the types of meals people can bring home with it?
So I think many of us who go to the grocery store, you will see signs that say Illinois Link Card is accepted here, and so those are the outlets that families will be able to access. So the benefit, I believe, is $6.82 per child per day. And so that will obviously accumulate, and if there's more than one child in the family, they can use that to put towards groceries at the different outlets in the state.
Do you estimate that dollar amount to be 1 meal, 2 meals, how much?
I believe that's for 2 meals, breakfast and lunch.
Is this counted fast food?
They are not available to be used at restaurants. They're retail outlets, grocery stores primarily.
Got time for one more question. Governor, another Republican tossed their hat in the ring last night and made population requirement issue. Former State Senator Paul Schiff also made population requirement issue. What's your plan to reverse the year after year of population requirement?
Well, let me start by saying I heard that that announcement last night was in a room of hundreds of people and no one was wearing a mask, so I am concerned about a super spreader event being caused by someone who's running for governor. But to answer your question, I've been working on this since day one. This was a problem before I became governor, I think you all know. That we had more people leaving the state than coming to the state. We had a significant deterioration of immigration to the state over the last several years as a result of the former President Trump and his policies. What I've been working on is making sure that we're attracting and keeping students in the state, because that's been part of the numbers of people who've left the state. Many students who are eligible to go to school at a reduced rate in the state of Illinois get a better deal leaving the state to go to another school out of state. That shouldn't be, and that's why I've increased every year the amount that we put into our scholarships and made it easier at the schools for kids who are at median income levels, their families are, or below, to get a free education. And we've seen that at many of our universities now since I took office. So that's just one way that we're trying to make it better for the state, to attract more people to the state, to keep people in the state. And lastly, I think it's very important to recognize that building jobs from the ground up, building up our small businesses, which is really where most of the job growth takes place in every state, all across the United States, that is what we ought to be focused on. And in the wake of the pandemic, that's where we ought to be putting our resources. I've talked about the corporate loopholes that we need to close in order to balance our budget. The corporate loopholes that we're closing, the vast majority of that is all about and affects the largest corporations, who we all know did extraordinarily well during this pandemic. Wealthy people and wealthy corporations did very, very well. You know who got hurt? It's everybody who earns roughly $40,000 and under. We need to be able to create new jobs, new businesses, and make sure that those folks have an opportunity to get a job, a new job, or the job back that they already had. I'm sorry, Mike, I'm going to take one from Mike, because I know he's been waving his hand.
Previous people have asked about the tax loopholes. There's several that are on that list. Some of them go way back before the recent years.
Yeah.
Others are from the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Obviously, these have to be approved by the General Assembly, these changes. Are you okay if only a few of them are taken out? Let's say some that were old and have been on the books for years, and Trump administration tax loopholes. Republicans are going to be hesitant to move on the ones that you agreed to back in 2019. So are you okay if only a few of them are left on the books? Would you be agreeable to that?
Look, a budget proposal is just that, a proposal. And so there will be negotiating. All I would say to the people who want to put back corporate welfare is, what other cuts are you willing to make in order to pump up what's going to large corporations? So thank you very much.